The Westchester and Fairfield County Business Journals and Citrin Cooperman presented Women in Power on January 24th at Reed Castle on the campus of Manhattanville College in Purchase. Catherine Sable, partner at Citrin Cooperman, opened the event.
We are here today to discuss with some amazing women how they have been able to achieve work-life balance and what they have seen in their industries and in their own employees who equally desire to attain work-life balance. I know they will offer some valuable insight as to how we can all achieve the ever-elusive work-life balance, and hopefully you'll be able to apply the lessons shared by our panelists to your own professional and personal lives.
I'm really excited to start this event. We have 3 fascinating and very accomplished women to hear from today, and I think I'm going to start it off with Susan Fox.
I began as a pediatric ICU nurse. I was, just going back another step, the first to go to college in my family. And my mother, who I lost last year, who I was very close to, always wanted to be a nurse. And I didn't really know what I wanted to do. And my parents were like, okay, if you go to college, you need to make money. And I got started because my mother wanted to do that. And it was a good job, and you can be flexible, and you can make money. But very quickly, as I started, I had graduated from Columbia University, and we learned a lot about patient care and being an advocate for our patient and having a level of responsibility to make sure that the right things are happening. And back in the 1980s, when I started, real life wasn't really like that. And very quickly, I said, okay, this isn't what I really signed up for. There didn't seem to be the respect in the workplace for the voice of the nurse where I was working then. And I went then off on a journey which said, if I stay in healthcare, I want to be able to do something to make a difference. And I don't think I started in a place, and I probably could have never even imagined being CEO of a hospital. But step by step, I chose and I made decisions in my career where it led to today, but it led to a place where I'm able to make a difference.
I have a very strong bent as a person about service to others, service to country, and this is probably the core that has gone across any facet of my career to date. Coming out of high school, I was fortunate. I had appointments to West Point. I hope I don't offend anyone here, but I was very glad that I didn't choose West Point or Navy, went into the Air Force. And I say that now with the benefit of hindsight, because even though there were still significant traditional aspects to life in the military for women, I feel that the Air Force, because it was a younger service, didn't seem to be as encumbered by the past, perhaps. It's, reflection over the course of decades now that I can actually say that. At the time, I wouldn't have known the difference. But the reason I start there is because this idea where you have a marriage of mindset and maybe mentorship, I was young enough not to appreciate things like obstacles. I just realized I needed to learn to navigate in an environment that was completely different than the one that I had been raised in to that point.
I was not a nurse that was saving lives. No, I wasn't in the Air Force protecting the country. But I was a bartender. All right? I was. And I learned 2 amazing lessons as a bartender that I still tell my executive team. Every step counts, and pros don't panic. I learned that from Charlie, the professional bartender that was saving my you-know-what when I was behind the bar. So anyway, it's pretty amazing to be with you 2 ladies, and I also have to say, from my experiences with the hospitals, I can't imagine a better person to be a president and CEO of a hospital than the person that actually knows how to care for people and save lives. So that's awesome.
What are some of the things that you've done in your life to kind of have balance and feel like you're not being overrun by work when you have all these important, things in your life?
I think we have to be a little honest with ourselves that the way in which we integrate our professional responsibilities and the things that we want to do either for our businesses or our employers. Sometimes it really does butt up against the other things happening in our lives, whether they revolve around family or other social or civic type of commitments. And so sometimes it's all about discipline and a series of choices that we make. And I do believe that all of us continue on a journey. And I don't know that we ever 100% figure it out. We just keep plugging away, trying to learn as we go.
I have no hobbies. I don't like to do anything. I like to work. So I was feeling bad about that, but should I? If I like to work and work is my hobby, why shouldn't I do that, right? My kids are important, my husband's important. My husband is here. Jeff, you can raise your hand. He's an amazing partner and very supportive, and is in the field, or was in the field recently, retired as well, empty nesters. And through the decades, you figure out what's important. But wherever you are in your career, whatever you want to do, finding that happiness, finding that balance, trying not to feel too guilty, but understanding that part of being good at what you do and feeling like you have contributed what you want to contribute is making some sacrifices. But hardwiring, I remember when my kids were young, going to the corner office of the partner at Ernst & Young, and at that time saying, can I work full-time in 4 days? Believe me, I'll work the hours. I had to beg him like 3 or 4 times, and finally he said yes, and I probably worked more than I ever worked, just to show that I just needed that little bit of flexibility. Fast forward to today, there's such a different culture, right? Everybody is trying to help their employees find that work-life balance and make sure that people have the time off, because we all understand it's important. We have flexible programs. We're working at home now. The technology, there's so many things that help with that. 30 years, 40 years back weren't there, so that's terrific. But at the end of the day, be true to yourself, and you do need to give things up. But to be able to have all of the helps that we have today, as well as that hardwiring of, I remember trying to get that day off, or making sure that I was always at my child's stuff, whatever that is, and having a hard line on some things is also helpful to make sure that you don't lose sight.
I think we do have an ability to find a little bit of a work-life balance, because I think we're great schedulers. And for me, scheduling, and I think you just touched upon it, was everything. So if I wanted to be Wednesday in the classroom reading once a month, I booked it. It was in my calendar, and us women, when it's in the calendar, it's not coming off, or at least it shouldn't. So I thought scheduling was really, really an important tool. For me, also growing up with my career, the phone was my best friend. I always answered the phone when my kids, I only have 2, thank God. If I had 6, I would always be on the phone. But I always would answer the phone. And I'll just share a quick little story about, I was interviewing this amazing woman from California that could have had a job anywhere, and she was interviewing to be in our little Bigelow Tea marketing in Fairfield, Connecticut, and the first thing I was thinking is, what are you even sitting here for? That's okay. So we're having a great interview, and we're really getting into it, and the phone rings, and it's my daughter. So excuse me, and I just take the phone call for a few minutes, and blah, blah, blah. Okay, good, I'll call, I love you, but I talk to her. And then I start the interview again. We pick up, which is hard to pick up again, and we're having a great time, and the phone rings again. Oh, Jesus, Lord, help me. And it's my son. So I pick up the phone, and I start talking to him a little bit. And then after I feel he's in a good place, I hang up, and I say to this woman, Lauren, I said, I'm really, really sorry. It's bad news is I always answer for my children. The good news is I only have 2. And so we finished the interview, and she took the job. And when I was talking to her later when she was working with us, I said, why'd you take this job? You could have any job you want. And she said, because you answered the phone when your kids called.
One of the things that we've tried to do is have goals, be simple, and for us, it's easy, motherhood and apple pie, take care of people, take care of them well, take care of them like you want to be taken care of. That really resonates for everyone. Now, that said, you do have generational issues around who's willing to work, who's willing to put in the time, who's willing to understand that message. But to me, that's really, are you hiring the right people that believe in what you're doing? And so, some people we say, on the bus or off the bus, you're part of what our message is, or there's other places for you to work. And that's not a bad thing. That's just finding that right thing for that person. So yes, there are differences, but you have to believe in the mission, and people have to put their all in. And the messages, hopefully, if they're simple and they make sense, and that you promote those goals and that culture every day, then it becomes easy.
At Regeneron, we have today about not quite 60% of our workforce is either millennial or Gen Z. I think the Gen Z number is about 5.6 or 5.8%, but it's rapidly going to grow, particularly in the more junior level roles that we have in our research labs as well as in our manufacturing environments. So another few years from now, that roughly 6% is going to become 15%, and another 5 years after that, it's going to be well north of 25 to 30%. It's just the nature of it. So for me, the communication is what is really important for this population to understand about their company, their coworkers, and their environment, and to make sure that the communication helps to tap into that. You know how the analogy about everybody's got to be in the rowboat and you're all rowing in the same direction? Well, there's a third piece that people don't ever talk about, and that is you have to row at the same speed, right? Doesn't matter if you're all going north, if you're rowing at a different cadence, it's chaos.
I think women do have the opportunity. Yeah, is it a journey? Are you ever really there? Absolutely not, but you can never stop giving up. And if it is your priority, then you're gonna make it work in some capacity, whether it's your compartmentalization, whether it's, for me, it's the dinner. I grew up again with my father. I didn't know any better. We had dinner every night together. Oh, I'm gonna have dinner with my kids. So that means I'm gonna work till 1 o'clock in the morning afterwards. So we're able to compartmentalize, we're able to schedule. We've got that amazing phone that never leaves our side. So I do think we are well suited to multitask and to do the best we can to not give up, because you don't have to give up. And you do want to be in an environment where they understand that, for sure. And for me, I try to set that tone. If you need to be teaching your kid baseball on Tuesdays in the summer, you're going to be teaching your kid baseball Tuesdays in the summer. So we do need to have CEOs and leadership that understand that, but then you also use those skill sets that you have to make sure that you do find that balance, because I think you can hit a little bit of a balance, in my opinion.